Welcome back to Game Talk from the Bench. I'm your host, Drew Barreto, and today I'm here with my co-host, my uncle, Andrew Barreto. Today's special episode is episode 67 for all you fans out there. But today we got NFL
Yeah.
news. We're covering NFL news. We got a little bit of basketball news, college basketball news, and then we'll get into our weekly NBA standings. We also, the World Baseball Classic, the championship game is currently on. Team USA is currently down, so we'll talk about that. Finally, we'll end off with a little bit of Formula One after the race this past weekend in Shanghai. But to start us off, we talked about it. I want to say we talked about it last week. I don't know. My brain's been everywhere. Dre Greenlaw, released by the Broncos. Obviously, he was with the Niners his whole career, got the big contract in Denver, signed it, was injury riddled in his 1 year. They ended up letting him go after 1 year. Um, Obviously he had a hot market, but he ends up returning to the Bay. He's going back on a 1 year, $7.5 million deal to rejoin the Niners, reunite with his brother in arms, Fred Warner. And I think if he's healthy and he's good to go, I think that's a great signing for them. When they were, I mean, he was the difference maker in the Super Bowl against the Chiefs. Well, as soon as he went out with injury, that's when the game flipped for the Chiefs and they ended up winning. So I think it's a huge signing for them, especially when I bet a lot of teams were looking to sign him.
Yeah, that's a big signing, right? When you get back with one of your good pals, your brother Fred Warner, get those guys back together. It's got to be exciting for Niner fans to just have that core back together, along with Nick Bosa coming back, and that whole defense that they have, just making a run at it, and they're signing. They're doing pretty good this offseason as well. I think they're not maybe not talked about as much, but they're just Mike Evans signings, and then there's some other offensive guys that they're providing for Brock Purdy. Make a run at this. You got that division. That division's Seahawks, Rams. You just got it's a tough division, so they're gonna have to do what they can to stand pat there.
A couple offensive signings. Juwan Jennings was a free agent. They're letting him go. They're letting him go elsewhere. They signed Mike Evans. They brought in Christian Kirk on a vet minimum. So yeah, they're doing little moves to obviously, their biggest thing is just getting healthy. It's all it really is. That's what riddled their season last year, just injuries. Kept stacking, kept piling on top of each other, and that's what ended their season. But more news in the NFC West. So we talked about Kyler Murray. He got released, right? And we talked about it. We said, well, maybe he'll go back to baseball. No, he's staying in the NFL. He signed a 1 year league minimum with the Vikings. So that brings up some QB controversy. Now, is it JJ McCarthy's job to lose? Is it Kyler Murray's job to lose? I mean, who we don't know who's going to be the starting quarterback. Obviously, Kyler's been a starter in the league for a while. They drafted J.J. McCarthy 10th overall 2 years ago. He didn't play his rookie year at 20 ACL. Last year he played. He didn't look too great, right? He didn't look like a 10th overall pick quarterback.
Right.
And so, with the signing of Kyler Murray, it's okay. Whose job is it to lose, right? Because they in the heads of the coach and Kevin O'Connell and the GM, they obviously have a guy who's favored to be the quarterback. Now the question is that we don't know is it's who's going to be the starting quarterback, and I think for the better of the team, it's got to be Kyler Murray. He's got to be the starting quarterback just because he's got the experience, and you pit him with a receiver like Justin Jefferson. Jeez,
Yeah.
I mean, you see what he did with DeAndre Hopkins in Arizona. I mean, he could have a great connection, obviously with Jordan Addison as well. So he's got weapons, and I think his ability to run with the ball, I think better suits their offense than Kevin O'Connell.
Yeah, and Kevin O'Connell, he's worked some magic himself, right? Like he's resurrected Kirk Cousins' career as soon as he was signed as the head coach of the Vikings. Kirk Cousins had one of his better years with the Vikings, and Sam Darnold, we know what happened there. I mean, he threw for over 4,300 yards. That 1 year for the Vikings, and yeah, I mean, this could be very well. Kyler Murray wins this job and gets his career resurrected. Yeah, he's still young. I mean, 28 years old. He's been in the league 7 years, and his stats in the very beginning. He's got over 3,700 yards, 3,900. It wasn't too long ago, 2024. He threw for 3,800 yards. So I mean, it's got to be there. I know he's plagued with injury last year, which gave him his lowest output of his career. But again, we're going to talk about health. If everything's good to go, yeah, I can see him winning that from McCarthy. McCarthy's still a young guy, still, to take over a franchise, be the starting quarterback. Not sure if he's quite ready for that yet. I don't think he has enough games under his belt. But in Kyler Murray, on the other hand, he's kind of seen everything, and I think he could, he could help them definitely win games.
Exactly. I mean, we haven't seen it yet. It doesn't look like JJ McCarthy looks at anything special, but it could be like one of those Jordan Love situations where he needs about 3 years, back up a vet, and then once he gets the starting role, he'll just boom click. So it's only a matter of time. But yeah, Kyler Murray, he deserves. I don't know if he deserves to be the starter, but for the better of the team, he should be the starter of the
Yeah,
Vikings.
he's got to show that he's healthy, during camp and all that stuff to go ahead and say, hey, I'm ready and I'm ready to compete and get the starting nod. Have you seen the Instagram that they have out there of Kyler Murray signing with the Vikings? They have all these funny, I don't know, these clips of there's like a little baby getting off the airport and he's greeting. It says Kyler Murray greeting the Vikings organization. This is little baby. And he's shaking everyone's hand. And he's, or they have another one that the scene from Elf where
Mm.
trying to blank from the guy's name, but he comes in and he says, all right, let's do this. And he starts writing that, helping out write their book. They hired I'm forgetting his name, but making fun of how short Kyler Murray is. There's a lot of that out there, so check it out.
Yeah, he is. He is pretty small, but hey, he's. I mean, Drew Brees is a Super Bowl champ, and he wasn't the biggest guy behind the center.
Yeah,
So
Hall of Fame. Hall of Fame, yep.
exactly. Um, More news. We talked about it last week. Maxx Crosby, right? Ravens backed out of their deal. He spoke out and talked about it. He said a lot of things were shady. It didn't seem like he never talked to the GM. He said the head coach seemed a little shady about it. Everything he said going to Baltimore just didn't feel right, and eventually they ended up backing out. They lied to him, saying they were still going to go with the deal even after they backed out. And he's back with the Raiders, and he said, it was just a sign from the football gods that it was only meant for him to stay with the Raiders. And for the Raiders, I mean, I think they're happy, right? They signed all of those free agents, and they get to include Maxx Crosby on top. Now, yes, they did have to eat his contract, but he's an amazing, one of the better defensive ends in the league. And for the Ravens, they did some sneaky stuff because while he was quote unquote on the Ravens, they were talking with Trey Hendrickson. And what did they do? After they backed out of the trade, the next morning, when they got their first round picks back, they signed Trey Hendrickson to a big 4 year, 100 and I want to say 117, $112 million deal. And so they steal the Bengals pass rusher, and they just did some really shady stuff to the Raiders, to Maxx Crosby. I mean, that's a big moment, big news, big headlines. Maxx Crosby's going to the Ravens, and then they make him look like a fool by sending him back.
Yeah. And they flew him from that article saying that they flew him first class, and the GM wasn't there, so he ended up meeting with the coach, and I think he ended up, long story short, just being there, heading back home, and then they're saying we're concerned about your knee, and but yeah, it's you're gonna have all these two sides of the stories talking, and it just sounds like the Ravens, they got cold feet, and they maybe that did scare them, the tests and the MRIs and all that stuff. They got cold feet and backed out of it, and but already had a shady plan B. The next day they already were plotting what they were going to do next, since this wasn't working out, or they were a little scared of the signing, because they were already getting a lot of heat, on social media about this signing. So as Raider fans, though, in addition to everybody else we've been signing, it's exciting. I know when we heard, well, at least when I heard he was signed going to the Ravens, I mean, it's upsetting. This is the guy for the Raiders. He's got Raiders tattooed on his body. He's the first name you think of when you hear Las Vegas Raiders. So huge. He's back. Just happy to just move forward, and like he said, he's meant to be a Raider, and let's go moving forward.
Yeah, most definitely. It's like you said, when you think of the Raiders, Maxx Crosby, the guy, he's their franchise guy. They want to win with them, and now they have the opportunity. They got the first overall pick, which most likely will be Fernando Mendoza. So future's bright in Vegas. But some other news in the NFC West, AFC West, my bad. Chiefs. We all know Patrick Mahomes tore his ACL. I haven't seen anything saying he'll be ready by the beginning of the year. Who knows? He might be, probably will be. But he tore his ACL towards the end of the year. And so they went out and they get themselves a backup quarterback, most likely. And Justin Fields. They traded a sixth round pick to the Jets for Justin Fields. And this is interesting to me because, yeah, they lost Isaiah Pacheco, but they go out and they sign Kenneth Walker, Super Bowl MVP. It's amazing, right?
Yep.
But Justin Fields is a good runner. Does he transition to running back? It's a question I've seen people bring up. I think it's really intriguing. I think he should. I think he'll be a really good running back. But also, obviously he's probably going to just be a backup quarterback to Patrick Mahomes because, like I said, who knows? Mahomes might not be ready to start the year. They're going to hopefully rely on Justin Fields, maybe for the first 2 week or two. And so, when I saw that trade, I was like, wow, it's really that was really out of the blue. I mean, I just didn't expect the Chiefs to trade. And I know the Jets not traded for Geno Smith, but I just would expect he would compete with Justin Fields for the starting role. But I guess the Jets don't want anything more to do with Justin Fields.
Yeah, these teams giving Justin Fields just 1 year try and then moving on, right? I mean, it's he's still young guy, 27. 1 year with the Steelers, 1 year with the Jets, and now potentially be the guy who starts for the Chiefs if, like you said, like Mahomes is not ready. But if Fields is the starter, then yeah, we need to pounce on the Chiefs because they're going to be send Maxx Crosby on him so we can get some wins there. But yeah, he's hanging on. If you ask me, I just think people are trading the 6th round pick or whatever it may be for Justin Fields. I think a lot of coaches around the league, a lot of organizations are just kind of like, hey, he's going to be a backup for now on, and maybe someone gets hurt, then he gets in, and now he's the starter. But other than that, it's like backup role for him as long as that's how I feel he would be in the NFL.
Yeah, no, it's tough journey so far for Justin Fields. Obviously, was oh, was with the Bears, right? Drafted with the Bears back in 2021, and then was there a few years. Was then he went to the Steelers. If I'm getting this right. I want to say I'm getting this right. Right? He was with the Steelers, and
2024.
yeah, he was back up there. Played a couple of games, and then boom, he got the starting role, got the big pay in New York. Obviously, the GM made some comments about him, and now he's with his fourth team, and he's gonna be a backup again. And so, tough journey for what was once to be thought the future franchise quarterback of the Chicago Bears. But that's
Yeah,
how the NFL is. It's
that's
just
the NFL in a nutshell.
ruthless.
That's tough. Yeah, but you always hope for the better, but in some cases you can see the writing on the wall, and it's like, it's all on you there. He also needs the playing time too. I mean, I see him 1,259 yards, with the Jets, and the Jets itself is not just it's not a place you want to continue playing because they're just a bad team in general.
Yeah, yeah, most definitely. To end us off in the NFL, big trade this morning. I wasn't a fan when I saw it just because it's a trade that happened in the AFC West. Broncos, we talked about it. Really slow offseason. We weren't really doing much to help Bo Nix. But what did they go do? They went out and traded for wide receiver Jalen Waddle. Now, Jalen Waddle, obviously great receiver, was second hand to Tyreek Hill. Obviously, speedster, could get open. What has been the second option while in Miami because Tyreek was there. Now he'll most likely, well, I don't know. Could probably compete with Cortland Sutton for wide receiver one. But it's a big trade. But I also think the Broncos gave up a lot. They gave up a first round pick, a third round pick, and a fourth round pick for Jalen Waddle, and the Dolphins are sending their own fourth round pick. So essentially, it's Jalen Waddle um, to Denver for a first and third. Sorry, I just like stunned right there. Kyle, not Kyle Schwarber. Bryce Harper just tied up the World Baseball Classic.
Did
They
he
were down
really?
2-0. Bottom of
Oh,
the eighth, 2 outs. Bobby Witt Jr. walked, and Bryce Harper just tied the game. So we'll
Ooh,
update you that once we get to it. But yeah,
wow.
big news for the Broncos. They get some offensive help. I do think they give up a lot of draft capital, but when you we're just in the playoffs and you fell short, not because offensively, but you're trying to win now. It's the right move.
Yeah, and that's what the good teams do is they find something out there that they feel would fit their system and help them get to the next level, which for them would have been the Super Bowl. Fortunately, Bo Nix went down, and maybe it could have been a different story. Um, but yeah, they go out there to improve themselves, and these draft picks, something you want a player of the caliber like Jalen Waddle, then you have to give up those draft picks, and yeah, I like the pick for the Broncos. He is now in the AFC West, which I don't like. Miami's just stacking draft picks, rebuilding, and I think everybody's gone now, right? There's no fantasy football players going to be taken from the
Only
Dolphins.
there's one. It's Devon A. Chan. With him being
Okay,
alone, he might be go one of one. I mean,
all right.
he's gonna be the offense in Miami. He's gonna be receiving. He's gonna be running. He's gonna do everything.
Ah,
And so Devon A. Chan. I mean, he's the only guy left. He might get traded. Who knows? They might trade him, but it's probably unlikely. He's still on the younger side. I mean, so is Jalen Waddle. But yeah, Miami's definitely in the rebuild. They got new head coach, new quarterback, stacking up draft picks, and they're just trying to rebuild for the future. That is
absolutely.
all that we have for the NFL. And now, before we get into the NBA, college basketball. I don't just talk college basketball because I don't watch college basketball, but I'm going. I'm a current student at Santa Clara, and I've been watching Santa Clara basketball. I'm like, hey, these guys, they've been playing really good, right? They in the West Coast Conference playoffs, they went all the way to the championship. They upset St. Mary's and a fantastic game. Fantastic game. I mean, Santa Clara got the lead. They hit the dagger, hit the night on St. Mary's, and they had to play Gonzaga, and they battled with Gonzaga. Obviously, Gonzaga is a high ranked team. I believe they're the second or third ranked seed in the playoff in their division or in their region, and they battled. Obviously, they fell short. But for the first time in 30 years, since
Yeah,
Steve Nash was a senior, Santa Clara is going dancing in March. And
nice.
so it's an incredible story because of how great of the year they've had. Um, and like I said, for the first time in 30 years, they're dancing.
I would imagine that's the buzz around campus right now too, right? You being an alum there, that's got to be kind of a hot topic, and everybody's pumped up. First time since 1996. Yeah, like you said, Steve Nash was before he was a two-time MVP. He was leading Santa Clara. I know, and I believe they upset the first game they played back in '96. I don't have it here on me, um, but yeah, no, it's very exciting to see what they can do. I think they're playing Kentucky
Yes.
with their first, so it's not already right off the bat. You get this,
Yeah,
this
tough
tough,
matchup.
yeah, already. So that's March Madness for you. That should be it should be fun. It should be a good game.
It should be. I mean, they had good odds heading into the game against St. Mary's, but with their win against St. Mary's, I mean, Sash, I'm probably gonna pronounce this wrong, but Gavalugov, he was phenomenal. He came alive in the second half, had about 22 points and the dagger against St. Mary's. He's been great off the bench. Alan Graves, their rookie, they're not well, he's a rookie, quote unquote. He's their freshman. He comes off the bench. He's amazing. He was a freshman of the year. He's also been nominated for a freshman of the year in all of college basketball. And they just have such a they have a great team. They have great size. They have great athleticism. They got a great point guard, Christian Hammond. He was averaging about 16 points in the regular season. He's been great. They got a big center and Bucky Oboye. And then they have Elijah Mahi. He's like a powerhouse dude. He's about 6'7". He's a guy that'll just bump and be physical in the paint. I mean, they have almost everything that they need to go on around. I mean, they could upset Kentucky.
Well, here's the so Wikipedia for what that's worth. I don't know. I'm assuming this is correct, but 1996 they were the 10th seed, Santa Clara. And the first round, they played number 7, just like number 7 Kentucky. They played Maryland, and they upset Maryland 91-79. They ended up losing in the second round that year to number 2 Kansas, which, yeah, Kansas is another
Kansas
powerhouse.
is another good team this year. Yeah.
But the 10th seed going up against the number 7. So there's history there, right? We're going
Yeah.
back and 30 years, and who knows? Maybe Nash makes a cameo. I'm not sure where they're playing, but
They
um,
play let me see. They play Friday.
What's
This Friday.
this Friday?
At
Okay.
9:15 in the morning. Jeez, I gotta wake up early for that.
There you go.
But yeah, no, it's just so huge because when you think about Santa Clara, they've had a couple NBA draft picks go in the first round. Jalen Williams, first round pick in 2022. His
Yeah.
team didn't go to March Madness. Brandon Podziemski the next year in 2023. He's a first round pick by the Warriors. His team didn't go to March Madness, and so you know you got a team of underdogs, and they end up making their way to March, and so it's just an incredible, you know, one of what they call a Cinderella story that a team like Santa Clara could do in the tournament.
Yeah. No, it's gonna be fun, and congrats to the Broncos there.
Yes. But moving on to our NBA standings. Nothing's really changed. Pistons, Celtics, Knicks. That's your top three. That will most likely be the order of the top three. Although Celtics and Knicks are tied at 45 wins apiece. However, the Knicks do have two more losses as of now. Jason Tatum is back. I don't expect the Celtics to fall any further than the second seed, and I just don't. I think they're just. I mean, they're 4.5 games behind the Pistons, and the Pistons are just have been amazing. I can't see them falling out of the first seed. So, but in the fourth seed, you have the Cavaliers. They're at 41-27. Raptors are the fifth seed. They're tied with the Magic, who are the sixth seed, and the Heat, who are the seventh seed. Hawks, 37-31. They are the eighth seed. They are in the play-in. Funny thing about the Hawks, I've already seen fans complain about Jonathan Kuminga. His past two
Have you
games
really?
have not been great. Have not been
Well,
great, and
he
fans are
has
already
been
calling
playing.
for him to. Yeah,
He played the last game. I think he did like 7 points or so. But he played the 2 games against the Wizards, and I think he played in the Portland Trailblazers. They're on a 10-game win streak, and it's not coincidence. Like he hasn't been playing in like more than half of those. But they have Jalen Johnson. I'm pretty drawing a blank on the Defensive Player of the Year last year. Dyson
Dyson
Daniels, I
Daniels.
believe.
Yeah,
C.J. McCollum. They got Nickeil Alexander-Walker just put up 41 last night against the Orlando Magic.
yeah,
They
he's
have a
good.
good young team, So
They do.
Kamika, he could fit right in there, like we've talked about before. They're a good young team, 10 in a row. They've actually moved up in this play into the 8th seed here, and they could even go higher. I mean, they've recently during that 10-game span, they've beaten the Sixers, they've beaten the Orlando Magic. So it's not like they're just running over the Wizards. They're playing some good basketball right now, along with the Charlotte Hornets is another team. Um, their win streak's not as long, but they're playing some good ball.
Yeah, so the 76ers, they've fallen a lot. They at one point were up in the top five. Now they're down to the ninth seed. They're 37-31 with the Hawks. And to round out the play-in, it's the Hornets, 35-34. They'll most likely be the final spot. The Bucks are 28-29. They're probably not going to be closing in towards the end of the year. And so that's your East. In the West, you have the Thunder, 54-15. Obviously, right, they're the favorites, they're the defending champs. Whatnot. Spurs, the second seed at 50-18. Um, Lakers are the third seed. There's a little drop off there. They're at 43-25. And then you have the Rockets at 41-26, the Nuggets at 41-27, and the Timberwolves at 41-27. So that fourth through sixth seed, right outside the play-in, it's going to be close on positioning wise to see who gets home court advantage for the playoffs. Now for the play-in, you have the Suns who are 39-29, followed by the Clippers that are 34-34, Warriors who are 33-35, and the Trailblazers and the play-in. Those will probably be the four teams in it at 33-36. And as a Warriors fan, it's tough, right? They're in the play-in. You don't want to be in the play-in. They are not that good in the play-in. However, though, Kristaps Porzingis, all I know is Rick Celebrini. He needs to go to the Hall of Fame medical for the medical coaching staff. I mean, the things he's done. I mean, he got Otto Porter Jr. to play 60 plus games in 2022. Obviously, yeah, when we first got Porzingis, he was out. He played one game, then he missed a decent amount of games. But he's been playing. He's been playing the past few games, and he dropped a 30-point game last night. And he's looking healthy. He's looking good. He's looking like a guy who, honestly, I want the Warriors to sign back next year. But other than that, I mean, they're just Steph Curry, right? They're just missing Steph Curry. It's all.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a game changer.
And for the
Um,
most part, the Warriors, I know you brought up Celebrini, they've been um, relatively healthy the last, I don't know, I'm going to just say decade, but aside from some Klay Thompson and Kevin Durant back in those days, and I don't know if Celebrini had anything to do with that, but we're talking about their whole team that they have there, their Kaiser Permanente team that they have, the doctors and whoever else is working on the players. Hey, they probably get paid a good penny from the owners there to, hey, let's get Porzingis good and go, rub him down, whatever it takes. But this year is probably one of the more memorable years as far as injuries. Everybody, Jimmy Butler, Curry went down. Even
Seth
his
Curry
brother
went down.
Seth went down. Okay,
Al went down. Quinn
you even
Post has
had
gone down. Moses Moody.
those Moody Horford. He's had his ins and outs, and Post, Quentin Post, everybody's having a little something. And they don't even play next to that Niners stadium, where they have the
But
underground.
the funny thing is, when Jimmy
Oh,
Butler tore his ACL,
yeah.
I believe George Kittle and Chris McCaffrey were at that
They
game.
were at the
They were
game.
at the game.
But,
And then Fred Warner was at the game the other day. And in that game, Quentin Post left the game, Seth Curry left the game, and Al Horford left the game with injuries.
keep
I don't know.
those
The Niners need to stay away.
yeah, keep those train station guys, stay over there in Santa Clara. Don't bring that bad voodoo over to Chase Center. But tough year, like you said, if they're playing right now where they're at, yeah, it's going to be tough for them to move on, especially if they number 30 doesn't play again this year, or if he comes back for a couple games. And I've seen him work his magic. We've seen him do it in the playoffs and in the Olympics, and he would just definitely carry the load on this team because right now we're just a play-in so okay team.
Yeah, yeah, they are. They are, and there's a good shot that they might not even make it out of the plane because it's tough. It's tough, but never say never. So that is all that we have for the NBA right now. World Baseball Classic. It is just on. I just talked about Bryce Harper tying the game. Well, Venezuela is taking the lead back. A leadoff walk by Garrett Whitlock, a stolen base by the Venezuela team, and then uh, a double by Eugenio Suarez gives Venezuela the lead. They're up 3-2 with the runner on second, no outs. So with 3 outs remaining for Team USA, they are going to need a miracle to send the game to extra innings. And it'd be a devastating loss. I mean, they were about to get shut out, but the fact that they've gotten 2 runs, um, but this is the third championship in a row. They won in 2017. They obviously lost to Team Japan in 2013, not 2013, 2023, and now 2026. They're on the verge of losing to Venezuela, who's it's their first time being in the championship of the World Baseball Classic. So it's Team USA is obviously they're the favorite, the powerhouse, right? Their offense has struggled to put up runs. They've struggled to just. I mean, they beat the Dominican 2-1 off great pitching and 2 solo shots from the young guys. And thus far tonight, they've got 2 runs off of Bryce Harper home run. So they just haven't been able to break out offensively in this tournament.
And they sent all the Avengers too, right? Like everybody's there. Judge, Paul Skeens, you got Bryce Harper, Bobby Witt Jr. They sent all their 18 ball players, and looks like, yeah, like you said, I wouldn't rule them out. I mean, there's so much firepower on that team, but it's like you said, 3-2, and they got some work cut out for them.
Yeah, they're running out of outs, so we'll keep you updated. Well, maybe we won't. This episode might end before the game does. But as for other baseball news, there really isn't much. They confirmed what's his name? Player on the Phillies. His last name is Rojas. I can't remember his first name. It's blanking on me right now. But yeah, player on the Phillies. He's also got his suspension for PEDs. 80 games. And so Phillies, I don't know what Phillies doing. They've had a couple players in the past couple years suspended with PEDs. But yeah, and like talking about the World Baseball Classic, 2 week screwball. He obviously pitched one game against Great Britain, and then he left and he pitched a game with the Tigers, which is why he wasn't available for Team USA. And so it just brings up and there's rumors about Garrett Crochet, about him joining the team and pitching in the championship game. But Nolan McLean, I think he did his job. He went 4 2/3. Yeah, he gave up 2 runs, but he looked good. And just the offense, just they have to come alive. They have to come alive. And like I said, they got 3 outs. Well, first they got to get out of this inning. There's a pitching change right now, but they got 3 outs to be crowned the world champions, and so we'll see how that goes. But to end this off, talked about it last week. Formula One. We just had the sprint and the race in Shanghai. Now we talked about it. Mercedes, they're a powerhouse. Their engine is just simply too fast for everyone else, and it showed in the sprint. They most likely would have been 1 and 2 had Kimi Antonelli not got himself a 10-second penalty. However, the Ferraris they got a double podium in the sprint, while George Russell won the sprint. And then in qualifying, George Russell's car didn't start all of qualifying. I mean, not all of qualifying. In Q3 qualifying 3, and so finally with minutes left to spare, he was able to get on the track. But Kimi Antonelli comes the youngest pole sitter in Formula One history. Only 19 years of age, 19 years, 6 months. He becomes the youngest since Sebastian Vettel did it when he was 21. So Kimi, he was P1 for the race, and during the Grand Prix, he almost hit a grand slam, but Lewis Hamilton led during the first lap of the race. But Kimi Antonelli had the fastest lap. He obviously was on pole, and he ended up winning the race. It was a 1-2 again for Mercedes. George Russell, Kimi Antonelli, they're the top two in the standings. And Charles Leclerc was P3, and Lewis Hamilton got his first Ferrari podium. So that was great for Lewis Hamilton to get his mojo back, to get his confidence back up. However, though, the next 2 races for Formula One have been canceled. The races in Bahrain and in I want to say Saudi Arabia, yes, and Jeddah, they have been canceled, and so there's gonna be a good couple of weeks until the next race, but it gives teams time to upgrade their cars and try to compete with the Mercedes. But that is all for today. Thank you all for tuning in. I'd like to thank my co-host for joining me today. We get episodes out we record them on Tuesdays. We get them out every Wednesdays. We also get post outs. Oh, sorry. And then we get try to get my reactions, my live reactions on things when they happen. You might get one after this Team USA game ends or whatnot. But yeah, one last time, thank you all for tuning in. And until next time, stay ready.